Okay, so I had asked you to fill up this sheet. I see that group B has not filled it up. আচ্ছা। And second is group D, মানে fourth group, জাপানের জন্য fill up করনি। Group D, who is the coordinator?
Olipriya, she is absent.
আচ্ছা প্রত্যুষ, তুমি বলতে পারবে যে মানে জাপানে ওই জিডিপির সঙ্গে কি রিলেশন ছিল মনে আছে?
স্যার নেগেটিভ রিলেশন ছিল।
আচ্ছা, তাহলে এটা নো। আচ্ছা গ্রুপ বি, স্বপ্নিল তুমি তো ফিল আপ করতে পারবে না। আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, এটা আমি না হয় ফিল আপ করে দিয়ে দেবো। দুটো গ্রুপ দাওনি। গ্রুপ টু, in fact 3 groups have not submitted the PowerPoints. See, unless you submit the PowerPoint, the assignment, huh?
So I think Ratul had mailed it to you. He had made the final changes and mailed it to you, the final PPT.
Yes, sir, and you replied to
রাতুলকে
that
আমি
you had
মনে হয় না
received it.
পেয়েছি। হ্যাঁ গ্রুপ থ্রি তো পেয়েছি আমি। হ্যাঁ রাতুল গ্রুপ থ্রি, গ্রুপ থ্রি আমি পেয়েছি। গ্রুপ টু পাইনি। আমি পেয়েছি ওয়ান, পেয়েছি থ্রি, পেয়েছি। See, I think 1, 3, 6 এই তিনটে গ্রুপ পেয়েছি। আর অলিপ্রিয়া, প্রত্যুষ, তোমরা ওয়ার্ড ডকুমেন্টটা পাঠিয়েছো। সো আই হ্যাভ গট দ্য রিপোর্টস ফর 4 গ্রুপস।
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
কিন্তু হ্যাঁ টুটা পাইনি, 7 পাইনি, আর 5 পাইনি। 4 বা 5। এক মিনিট দাঁড়া, আমি 2 মিনিটের মধ্যে আসি। Okay. So anyway, so what I'm saying is that you have to submit the entire uh, the write up also. You have to submit the write up also to complete the assignment.
So the presentation along with the write-up.
No, you can submit the presentation only. I mean that you just don't. You have to present in class, but you also have to submit something written.
Oh, okay, got it. Thank you.
In some cases, you have to present both write up and presentation. For this, anyone will do. Acha. The other thing that I want to point out is that on Saturday, Shashwata Ghosh will give a lecture on mortality trends in India. So that lecture will be at 4 o'clock. I've sent you all the link. And as you know, that is part of the course. Okay. So I have almost finished my part. So I hope to finish this today. Otherwise, I may carry it over a little bit on Friday. Otherwise, on Friday, I'll take the class only for special econometrics. Okay. Now, we had looked at poverty and inequality. Today, we are going to discuss two other concepts, human development and multidimensional poverty. Now, Human Development Index was developed by the Bangladeshi economist Mehbubul Haq, and it was part of the UNDP report in 1990. It was again calculated in 1995, and then from 2000 it is being calculated annually. Now, how do we estimate the Human Development Index? The HDI has three components. One is education, which has two subcomponents. One is the mean year of schooling, so the average number of years that adults above 25 years have received, and expected is what is the number of schooling years that a child of school entrance, that is 6 years, is expected to receive. So you have mean years calculated for adults and expected years of schooling calculated for those who are just joining the education system. In health, you have life expectancy at birth, and to measure the standard of living, you have the gross national income per capita. Okay. Now, what we do is we have these values. So we have numbers for mean years of schooling. We have numbers for life expectancy at birth. We have numbers for gross national income per capita. So what we do is we calculated the dimension index. So that means if we take life expectancy for different countries, we take the actual value. Sorry, this is again a mistake. We take the absolute value, we divide this by minimum value, and the denominator is maximum value minus minimum value. Okay. So if you look at life expectancy, for instance, let us suppose that we have a country, a set of countries whose life expectancies are these. Okay, so we have 8 countries. Okay, we call them A, B, okay. So what is the maximum life expectancy?
Sir, 82.
And what is the minimum life expectancy?
Sir, 47.
Okay. So let us say we are calculating the life expectancy for A. Okay, so we put in the actual value, which is 68 minus 47. Max is 82 minus 47. So এটা কত হচ্ছে তোমার 20, this will be 21 and this will be 57, 67, 77, 35. So we get some value. This will be about 0.6. Now you can see that if we take the life expectancy of country D, this will become 47 minus 47, which is equal to 0. On the other hand, if we take the life expectancy of country H, this will be 82 minus 47 by 82 minus 47. So that means a particular index will vary from 0 to 1. Okay. This is for the top performing country, best country, and this is for the worst country. In a similar way, we can calculate the standard of living by taking, instead of taking life expectancy, we simply take the per capita income. Okay. Now, what do we do for education? For education, we have 2 indicators. Okay, we have one indicator is the mean years of schooling. So this is the mean expected years of schooling, and the other is the mean expected year of schooling. This is calculated for the children who have not joined schools, and this is calculated for adults who are aged at least 25. Let us say that this is okay. So we have data on mean year of schooling, and we calculate the normalized form, that is 0 to 1 form, and let us say these were prime, and we calculate the mean year of schooling. So then what we do, this is calculated for every country, I. So for education, we simply take the mean of this. Okay. So this is the arithmetic mean that we are taking. So that means we have 3 indicators for every country. One for education, we have got another for health, and another for standard of living. Okay, then what we do is to calculate the HDI, we take the average, or rather we take the mean. But this is not the arithmetic mean, it is the geometric mean. So that means we multiply them and we take the cube root. Okay, so we calculate the individual indices and then we aggregate them by taking the geometric mean. Okay, so HDI is an equal weight. You can see that education, health, SLI, both are given equal weights. Otherwise, what would, if we had used weights, the formula would have been something like this. Okay, so in this case, you can see the value of the weights are all equal and equal to 1. Okay, now why geometric mean? Why not arithmetic mean? See, initially, Mahbubullah Haq used the arithmetic mean to compute HDI. The problem with this is that if you are not performing well in one indicator, so suppose you are achieving very high growth rate, but you are performing very poorly in terms of education and health. It is possible to compensate for poor performance in one sector by very good performance in another sector. Okay. So geometric mean has certain advantages. The first advantage is that low achievement in one dimension is not linearly compensated for by higher achievement in another dimension. Secondly, if you perform poorly in any one dimension, this is directly reflected in geometric mean. So basically what we are saying is that a geometric mean reduces the substitution between dimensions. So a 1% decline in, say, life expectancy has the same impact on HDI as a 1% decline in education or health index. So the method is more respectful of the intrinsic differences across dimensions than arithmetic mean. Okay. Now let us look at the performance for India. You can see that India is around 2017. So US countries like US, Australia, Great Britain, the Scandinavian countries, So they're very dark green countries. This is again France, Germany, Holland. So these countries are performing very well in human indicators in terms of human development. Mexico, Argentina, China, not China, but this will be Western, Eastern Europe and Russia. So these countries are also performing very well. India is performing around 0.6 to 0.7, so roughly in the intermediate performance. And India's performance is better than, more or less better than the other SAARC countries, the neighboring countries. Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh performs equally well, but Nepal, Pakistan, in fact, Sri Lanka performs better, but Pakistan, Nepal, and Myanmar, these three countries do not perform as well as India. Let us look at this a bit more carefully. In terms of, this is for Asia, drawn for South Asia. You can see that India is performing, again, it's not a very great performance because there are some regions, quite a few regions, which are performing far better than India. I mean, this entire belt, this part, this part, this part, these are performing far better. Thailand, Malaysia, these are performing far better than India. Okay, if we look at it, the neighboring countries, we see that China has performed consistently better than India, and the gap has also improved somewhat in recent years. Pakistan was performing initially better, but since the 90s, Bangladesh has overtaken it, and Bangladesh is now growing, increasing fairly rapidly. And one can expect, particularly after around 2006-7, you can see the slope has changed. So somewhere around within 10 years, 15 years, Bangladesh can be expected to overtake India. India has improved steadily. There has been a very marginal decrease over here, you can see. But by and large, it has gone up. But again, you can see that over here, there are signs that India is plateauing off. And these become more evident in the latter years, 2018-19. It's a bit old data, 1 or 2 years old data. But in the 2020 Human Development Index, India slips behind further. So we have a danger spot over here. Another danger spot is appearing to emerge over here. And if we add subsequent data for future years, more current years, we will see that India is slipping behind in human development. If you look at the interstate variations, this is for 2011-12. Most of the countries are in the, if we rank them into 4 groups, most of the states are in the below, in the high, what you can say to be the high medium. Very few countries are in the, no, sorry, this is below. Okay, so most of the countries are in the low medium, orange. You can see it's very difficult to see, but Delhi, there will also be, I think, Chandigarh are in the high range. Kerala, Maharashtra, and Himachal are also performing well, satisfactorily. When we turn to 2017-18, we can see that this is Goa, Delhi, and I think Chandigarh also. They have come to the 0.8 and above. The orange has come down drastically. There are no reds. There was one red over here, Jharkhand. No, this will be Bihar. There's one red over here, Bihar, but there are no reds over here in this state. And you can see that the northern belt, Punjab, Haryana, This will be Uttarakhand. Then apart from Maharashtra, this is Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh. No, this will be Telangana. This is Telangana, Tamil Nadu. They have performed better, and some of the northeastern states. This is Sikkim. This will be, I think, Tripura. This is, I don't know, Nagaland, Kohima, something like that. So at the start of the earlier decade, 11-12, Bihar was the only state in the low HDI category. Most of the states, 24 states, were in the medium HDI category, and 10 states were in the high HDI category. Delhi, Chandigarh, and Goa are the only 3 states and union territories. That were included in the very high HDI category. In 2017-18, Kerala has the highest HDI score in the country. There are no states in the low HDI category. Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, UP, these are in the medium HDI categories. And very high HDI category, again, you have 14 states. And among the new entrants, Punjab, Haryana, Karnataka, Telangana, Meghalaya, Andaman, Nicobar. So these were previously in the medium HDI category. Now they have improved and have become part of the high HDI category. If you do a long run analysis from 83 onwards, the HDI score across states show little variation and range. But if you look at the variation in the sub indices, particularly for education and health, they show a substantial degree of variation. Overall, HDI is consistently high for Kerala, Goa, Himachal Pradesh. Chhattisgarh, UP, and Bihar are the hotspots. HDI of both high and low income states have registered some interesting movements. High income states like Punjab, Haryana have also improved in terms of human development. Middle income states like West Bengal has enhanced. Tamil Nadu has also gone up. But if you look at Punjab and Haryana, well, they have grown very rapidly. They have got very high per capita income. They are one of the richest states. But their performance in human development, but in urban areas, has worsened in recent years. So over here, we look at compare between, this is HDI in 83, this is in 11-12. So this ideally, this 45-degree line means that you are maintaining your human development. If you're going above this, you have improved. You're falling behind this, you have deteriorated. And if you remain like on the 45-degree line, your performance will be same. So you can see that most of the states are performing, have improved the performance, but states like Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat, this is I think Karnataka, no, this will be Kerala, surprisingly, Andhra Pradesh, Assam. These states have performed poorly in the urban areas. Sorry, rural areas. This is for urban areas. You can see that the performance is far better. But again, Punjab is one of the problem areas. The others are minor states which can be ignored. If you look at human development and economic growth, we can see, I mean, what is the trend? Do you think that we have a good trend? I mean, we have a very clear trend. We have drawn a nonlinear line, a nonlinear curve. But what do you think this figure shows? If your per capita income is high, what happens to human development?
So the marginal effect falls.
Marginal effect falls মানে?
স্যার মানে রেট অফ চেঞ্জ আর কি, মানে ইনকামটা খুব একটা অনেক বেশি হলে ওটার চেঞ্জটা বেশি এফেক্ট করে না আর কি এইচডিআই কে।
Okay, what we see is we have got 2 points over here, but should we take them? They are outliers. By far the মানে বেসিক্যালি যেটা আমরা পাচ্ছি এরকম একটা ট্রেন্ড পাচ্ছি, there's a cluster over here, and মানে লিনিয়ার ট্রেন্ড হলে কি হবে, এরকম একটা স্ক্যাটার্ড হচ্ছে। এইখানে কিন্তু আমরা দেখছি ইজ অলমোস্ট ভার্টিক্যাল। সো হোয়াট ডাজ আ ভার্টিক্যাল লাইন ইমপ্লাই? আমরা যদি এই পয়েন্টটা আর এই পয়েন্টটা বাদ দিয়ে দিই, আমরা কিন্তু এরকম একটা ট্রেন্ড পাবো। If you drop this and drop this, তাহলে ট্রেন্ডটা কিরকম হচ্ছে? It will be something like this. So what does it imply if we get a almost vertical line?
Sir, at a particular income level, the HDI is continuously increasing.
No, what is happening is that, see, this is for states. না, ইলাস্টিসিটি ওরকম কিছু নেই, দিস ইজ ফর স্টেটস, রিমেম্বার। এটা যদি তোমার একটা লাইন হতো, ইফ ইট ওয়াজ ফর আ পার্টিকুলার ওয়ান স্টেট or one country, we could have said something about elasticity or whatever. Here what we are getting is, what we are simply getting is, you have different trajectories for states. You don't know what the trajectories are. For the almost same level of per capita income, you have wide variations between the different states. Okay. So that means per capita income is really not related with human development. For the same per capita income, your HDI can vary. This is for 11, 12. Again, if you drop this clutter, এইখানে বরঞ্চ তাও একটা রিলেশন এসেছে। The vertical line, I mean, it's better if we draw it ourselves. So here we have some, I mean, per capita income is having a very weak relation. So when we are looking at this, but again, if you look at this, see, this is almost, the per capita income is almost same, but you are having a huge variation. So this is actually the problem. If you remember that when you looked at urbanization and per capita income, you got similar trends. Let's see if I can. See, you're looking at the red line. The red line is a predicted. Look at what is happening to the blue points, particularly over here. Total population is almost the same, but urbanization is varying. Here again, there's not much variation in population, but the urbanization levels are varying. See, what is happening if you take this type of data, if you club together cross-section data, the problem is that you can have a particular state where you have a positive relation. So for each of the states, you're getting a positive relation. Okay. So there's no doubt about that. There's a clear positive relation. But if you take just one point, let us say you're taking the starting point. What are you getting? What type of line are you getting over here? If anything, it will be negatively sloped. Okay, so this is one problem that you may face when you're taking cross-section data. What happens is, what you're basically saying is that each state, okay, the context is different. So you're on a different trajectory. So unless the states are similar, okay, so unless you have similar states where the context is also same, only the per capita income is different. So if you have states like this, for instance, if you take the starting point, you're getting a clear linear trend. But in situations like this, cross-section data will not give you any meaningful result. Okay. Okay. Next, we turn to multidimensional poverty index. Now, we had considered poverty before, but it is what we call an income-based measure of poverty. Okay. So, poverty basically means that you don't have sufficient income. We may use expenditure as a proxy for income, but the basic logic is that income will give you the means to rise above the poverty line. However, if a person who is poor, okay, can suffer multiple disadvantages at the same time. He may lack poor health, malnutrition, he may lack clean water, electricity, he may lack income opportunities, he may be unable to send his children to schooling. So focusing on just income is not enough to capture the reality of poverty. And so researchers have suggested that we try to capture poverty more comprehensively using multiple dimensions. Okay. So if we use this multidimensional poverty, you can get a measure similar to a headline measure of poverty. You also can decompose it to reveal the poverty level in different areas of a country and among different subgroups of people, which is very important. So the concept of multidimensional poverty was propounded by Sabina Al-Khairi and James Foster. So they suggest 12 steps by which you can measure multidimensional poverty. So you start by choosing the unit Let us suppose that we are taking an individual as the unit. Okay, so we choose the different dimensions. What are the dimensions that we want to take? So we may choose education, we may choose health, we may choose standard of living, suppose. Then for each of them, we choose indicators. So for education, whether you are able to access primary education or not. Whether in case of health, whether your wife can avail of antenatal services or not. Or maybe what is the mortality rate, what is immunization, and so on. Okay, then we choose a cutoff line of, like I'll describe in terms of a income. So suppose your income is, we have got different levels of income, and we choose a cutoff level of 1000. So if your level of, if your income is above 1000, you're considered to be non-deprived. If your income is below 1000, you're considered to be deprived. Now, in that case, I mean, how do you choose this cutoff line? I mean, the problem is that if you choose, let us say 1000, I choose 800, which is better? I mean, the entire process of choosing the cutoff line becomes arbitrary. So what we should do is, we should do a sensitivity analysis and see that if we vary the cutoff line, if we increase it, decrease it, how does our measure of poverty change? And if we find that it is changing substantially, even for small changes in the cutoff line, then our measure has some problems. But if you find that even if we change our cutoff line substantially, but there's no major change in the poverty deprivation index, then we say that a measure or estimate is robust. We can also use multiple cutoffs. So we have extremely deprived, mildly deprived, something like that. Okay, so using the cutoff line, we identify a person as deprived or non-deprived. So we have got different indicators, and for each of them, we count the number of deprivations for every person. Okay. So that means if we have got 12 indicators, so let us say we have got 3 indicators for education. We have got 3 indicators for health. And for SLI, we have got 4 indicators. Okay, so for each of them, we go to a country, we have got different persons, A, B, C, and we say that, okay, is he deprived or not? If he's deprived, we mark him as 1. Okay, here he is not deprived, 0. Again, he is deprived over here. Not deprived, but here he is deprived. Okay, he is deprived here, 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 but not here. So what is the number of deprivations of this person?
So 6.
So what are the deprivations for B and C?
So for B it's 4, C it is 0, and for D it's 3.
So we calculate these deprivations in this way. Okay. Then we identify a second cutoff line. Okay, we say that if a person has a deprivation level of 4 plus, then he's poor. Okay, so this is overall deprivation. Okay, so is this 4 plus? Yes, we mark him as 0. Is this 4 plus? No, 0. So these three persons are not poor. So then we calculate the head count ratio. So this is the number of overall number of persons who are suffer from overall deprivation, and this is the total persons. So in our example, what is the head count ratio?
One by four.
It is 1 by 4 or 0.25. Okay. Now I just want to show you something. So instead of taking 4, what I'll do is I'll take the cutoff to be 3.5. So in that case, this is 2. This will be 0.5. Okay. Okay. Then what we do is, see, C and D are not deprived. So let me correct the data. So we look at only the deprived people. This is crossed out. Okay. 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 Then we look at the deprived people and we calculate the poverty gap. So what is the poverty gap? If we look at A, how many indices do we have? We have got 3, 3, and 4. So we have got 10. In how many, with respect to how many indicators is A suffering deprivation?
So 6.
Okay. And in case of B, it is 4. So we have we take the mean of this, and this will be how much? 5. or rather 0.5. Divide the entire thing by the number of people, which is 1 by 2. Okay. So then we adjust the head count ratio by this. So 0.5 into 0.5, which is 0.25.
স্যার
হুম।
স্যার ওই টেনটা আপনি কি করে আনলেন একটু বলবেন, মানে ওই ডিনোমিনেটরের
তিনটে
টেনটা?
ইন্ডিকেটর, তিনটে, এখানে তিনটে ইন্ডিকেটর, এখানে তিনটে, এখানে চারটে। So the total
আচ্ছা।
number of indicators.
টোটাল ইন্ডিকেটর, ঠিক আছে।
We simply take the arithmetic mean of this, and only for deprived persons. So that means we don't do this analysis for C and D. We do it only for A and B. Okay, so the Planning Commission has brought out estimates just last month, and you can see that this is the uncensored headcount ratio. Okay, so this is the headcount ratio before we adjust it for the poverty gaps. So you can see this is 37. These are for the different indicators. So where is the problem most severe?
So cooking fuel.
Cooking fuel, followed by
So sanitation and then housing.
and then nutrition. Nutrition is the fourth. And where are we best?
So child and adolescent mortality.
Which is somewhat surprising, because India is doing very badly in terms of child and adolescent mortality, and is followed by school attendance also. That is also very bad. No, school attendance. Yeah. So this is the censored head count ratio. So that is, we are adjusting this by the weights, by the poverty gap. So the gap comes down, but you can still see that it is the nutrition, cooking fuel, sanitation, housing, where you have the greatest problems. This is HDI across regions. Which state is the worst? Remember, in HDI, if you had a high color, it was good. It was bad. Here also, high color is bad, because high values of poverty index means that you have more poor people. So which state is the worst?
Sir, Bihar.
বিহার।
Okay. And you can see that the so-called cow belt, most of the cow belt, Bihar, Jharkhand, UP, and
মধ্যপ্রদেশ।
Madhya Pradesh. These four states are the worst performing states. Best states: Himachal, Rajasthan, yes,
সাউথ ইন্ডিয়া।
Himachal, Punjab, and South India. You have Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Goa at the top, in Sikkim, and you also have Nagaland. So these are the best performing states. States like Maharashtra, West Bengal. If you look at
স্যার
just
ওটা
the district
মিজোরাম।
level, Okay, Mizoram. Okay, so this is the district-wise variation, and again, it's not been. We can see that there's a problem over here in this belt, and this is extending to Rajasthan. The yellow, orange, red is extending till Rajasthan. We also have a belt over here, Orissa. This, I think, will be the Kalahandi belt. So this is rural and urban. Urban, you can see it's much better, except for Bihar and the 3 states, the cow belt. Even in the cow belt, it's pretty good. But if you look at the rural area, well, I mean, the 4 offending states are the same as before, but yellow, Arunachal comes in, West Bengal comes in, Andhra Pradesh, you have Chhattisgarh, you have Gujarat, you have Rajasthan. So the performance is worse in the rural areas, which is what we would expect. This is the overall for West Bengal. This is the head count ratio, 21, multiplied by the intensity of poverty, the poverty gap, and we get point and multi-dimension poverty of 0.097. Rural, it's much higher, 0.117. Urban, it's much lower, 0.05. But you can see that the intensity of poverty, the poverty gap, that is more or less same between rural and urban areas. It is the number which is worse in rural areas. So again, you can see dimensions, and you can see that what we found in the rural at all India level, cooking fuel, housing, sanitation, and nutrition. These are the 4 offending cases. And areas where we are performing well: adolescent mortality, child mortality, and school attendance. District level variation, you can see is substantial variation within India, within West Bengal. The area around Calcutta, except for the Sundarban area, and this will be Darjeeling, I think. So this is performing very well. The main part is over here, Bankura, Purulia. This will be Malda, Dinajpur. I think this will be Nodia. So it's not performing very well. Okay, so I'll stop at this point. So I have finished the Indian economics course. Friday I will take the class, but I will divide this up into 2 parts. But it will be mainly for the econometric special group. Okay, Saturday. So I hope to finish the lecture in about half an hour on Friday. So your class is from 11:45. I'll shift it to 12. Okay. So on Friday, I'll start from 12 and I'll finish that lecture by 12:30, maximum 12:40. Next Tuesday, I will ask you to, by next Tuesday, you should have finished the slides on inequality. Okay. After that, I have sent you another assignment on human development, so that you can finish by the end of the next week. Just as I've told you, you have to give 2 slides per group. So by next week, you should have finished all your assignments, after which you can, if you want, I can discuss any part. Otherwise, you can, there will be no Indian economics classes. So regarding the marks, assignments and presentations will be 50. Okay, so we have not decided on this distribution, but GC will have maximum of 20. Is this clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Now, possibly what we may have to do is we have to send the different marks separately. So what we can do is I will only send the marks, and this 20 will be added to your Viva marks. Okay, so when you get the marks, I mean, we often, when we send the IA marks, you will see that you will be marked only out of 30. Okay, so don't get worried. This 20 will remain. We are only going to submit this later on. That is the only part. Is it clear?
Yes.
So your final exams will be only of 50 marks. GC's 20 will be added to the Viva. I think she is you have presented twice before her.
Yes, sir.
I think there was a presentation and one was some
Discussion.
group discussion or something.
Yeah.
Okay. So this will be the written assignments and the slides. Okay, so any further questions? The course will be what is taught till Saturday. So you're going to have demography, the population structure, urbanization. You will have education, health. Health will include SG's discussion. Poverty, inequality, this discussion, and unemployment. That is my course. So the first module is demographic transition, the theory, population structure, urbanization patterns. Next is education. Okay, so if you don't prepare the slides, even then they will be part of the, I will simply assume that you have completed the assignment and they will be part of the course. So what I receive by next Friday, both the slides, that will be distributed if you send after the Friday, because I'm noting that you are delaying too much in submitting these assignments. They will not be part of the slides that will be distributed, but I can still ask questions on those parts. Is it clear? Okay. So I'll take the attendance again. And okay. So 3 students have dropped out. So okay, you can leave the class now.
স্যার বলছি
হ্যাঁ বলো।
স্যার বলছি আগের লাস্ট
আচ্ছা লক্ষ্মণদীপ তুই বলে নে।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ বলছি স্যার লাস্ট ক্লাসের ভিডিওটা কি আপনি আপলোড করেছেন রেকর্ডিংটা?
আমার কাছে তো রেকর্ডিংটা নেই।
ফ্রাইডে ক্লাসের যেটা প্রেজেন্টেশনের পর যেটা আপনি করেন ক্লাসটা।
না আমি করিনি, সরি আমি করিনি, কারণ বাকিরাও একই কথা বলছিল। আমার স্যাটারডে সানডে ভাইবা ছিল, আমি করিনি, আমি আজকে করে দেবো।
আচ্ছা স্যার ঠিক আছে।
হ্যাঁ
Sir, sir, about the write-up for the labor force participation rates. So, do we have to submit
তোমরা
the
কি
write-up for it?
প্রেজেন্টেশনটা পাঠিয়েছিলে
Sir,
স্লাইডস গুলো? হ্যাঁ ঠিক
Yes,
আছে,
sir, we
তাহলে
have
আর
sent
কিছু
the-
করার দরকার নেই।
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
স্যার তার মানে যারা প্রেজেন্টেশনটা পাঠিয়ে দিয়েছে তাদেরকে আর রাইট আপ আলাদা করে দিতে হবে না তো, মানে এই
না,
এলএফপিআর এর
না।
জন্য? মানে
না, you can
labor
submit
force participation.
either write up or presentation.
ওকে
MACOs have sent write up.
ওকে স্যার।
That's all. They have completed the assignment.
ওকে ওকে স্যার।
ঠিক আছে, and I'm closing the class in that case. If you have any other queries, you can mail me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
স্যার বলছি আপনাকে একটু ফোন করতে পারবো?
মিস্টার ঋতুনু, হ্যাঁ কেন?
স্যার ওই আর কি থার্ড